Michael Jackson stood in the dark corner of the studio, his hands trembling, and outside, 50 million people were waiting to watch him. The stage manager leaned into his ear. "Michael, give up on this idea. It's too risky." But Michael's mind was made up. What he was about to do that night would only last 8 seconds, but it would change dance history forever. March 25, 1983, Pasadena Civic Auditorium, Motown 25. Yesterday, Today, Forever special show. Outside the red carpet. Inside the biggest names in the music industry. Diana Ross, Smokey Robinson, Marvin Gaye's family, Berry Gordy, the founder of Motown, and of course the Jackson 5. But tonight was different. Michael wasn't that little kid anymore. He was 24 years old, and his Thriller album was tearing up the Billboard charts. His solo career was exploding, but the world still saw him as that cute kid from the Jackson 5. Backstage, Michael stared at himself in the mirror. He wore a black sequined jacket, white shirt, black pants. A white sock on his left foot stood out. A single white glove on his right hand. Fedora hat on his head. The outfit was flawless, but the expression on Michael's face was restless. "Michael, are you ready?" asked the production assistant, her voice coming from far away. Michael didn't answer. He just looked at himself in the mirror. What he saw was a man, but what he felt was still that 9-year-old boy. That kid in the small house in Gary, Indiana, where his father Joseph would scream, "Try again, it's not perfect." That kid who had to prove himself when they made their first recording at Motown. And now here, tonight, he needed to prove something again. But this time, it was something different. This time, he hadn't asked anyone. Berry Gordy didn't know. The producers didn't know. Even his brothers didn't fully know what he was going to do. "Michael." The voice came again, this time more urgent. Michael turned to the assistant. "One more minute," he said quietly. His voice was so soft, the assistant almost didn't hear it. "Let's go back." 3 weeks earlier, Michael was in his manager Freddie DeMann's office. Freddie sat behind his desk, looking serious. "Michael, Berry brought you an offer for a Jackson 5 reunion performance? Motown 25 special? Big deal. Nostalgic thing." Michael nodded. "I know, and I'll accept." Freddie relaxed. "Great. Berry will be very happy, but..." Michael left the word hanging. Freddie's eyebrows furrowed. But I have one condition." Michael stood up, walked to the window, looked outside. The Los Angeles skyline stretched before him. "After the Jackson 5 number, I want to do a solo thing." Freddie stayed silent. Then Michael, "This is Motown 25. It's to celebrate the past, not for new material." "I know." Michael turned, looked at Freddie. There was that rare determination in his eyes. "But I'm not participating. If I can't do solo, I'm going to do Billie Jean." "Billie Jean?" "Michael, that's from Epic Records. This is a Motown celebration." "I know, but that's my condition." Freddie looked at Michael for a few seconds, then picked up the phone. He called Berry Gordy. The conversation lasted 20 minutes. Michael waited by the window, not moving at all, just breathing, those deep, controlled breaths, like he learned from meditation. Freddie hung up. Berry agreed, "But it'll be short, no more than 3-4 minutes." Michael smiled. It was one of those rare smiles, small but real. "That's enough." But the real story doesn't start here. The real story was in Michael's head. Michael had been dancing since childhood. Jackson 5 choreography, those classic Motown moves, he knew them all by heart. But for the last few years, he'd been trying different things. He was taking inspiration from street dancers he saw on Soul Train. There was one particular move, a move known as the backslide. Dancers were sliding backward, but it looked like they were going forward. Michael had seen this move, practiced it for hours at home, in the kitchen, in the living room, in the studio, everywhere. He had perfected the move, added his own soul to it, and now he was ready to show the world. But he hadn't told anyone. He didn't tell the production team. He didn't tell the Motown executives. He hadn't even fully explained it to his choreographer. He just said, "I'll have a surprise in the Billie Jean performance." What kind of surprise, they'd asked. "You'll see," Michael had said, with that mysterious smile. Now let's go back to that night. Backstage, Michael was still looking in the mirror. Music was playing in his ear. In his head, music only he could hear. The rhythm of Billie Jean, that bass line, 4/4 beat, perfect tempo. The door opened. Jackie Jackson came in, one of Michael's older brothers. "Yo, Mike, you ready? Your Jackson 5 number starts in 10 minutes. Michael turned his head. "I'm ready." Jackie looked at Michael's outfit. "You're doing solo after." "Billie Jean." "Yes." "Did you rehearse? Did the crew tell you anything?" Michael smiled. "I rehearsed, but I didn't show them the full show." Jackie frowned. "What do you mean you didn't show them the full show?" "I have a surprise." Michael, Jackie approached, looked at his brother. "Barry takes tonight very seriously. Motown's legacy and all. Please don't do anything. What I'm going to do will be perfect." Michael touched Jackie's shoulder. "Trust me." But there was still worry on Jackie's face. Michael saw it. He saw how his family always looked at him. That little brother, that talent, but also that risky person, that boundary-pushing kid. "Mike, look." Jackie was about to continue, but the production assistant came running. "Jackson 5, get ready, 5 minutes." Jackie gave Michael one last look, then headed for the door. "See you on stage, brother." Michael was alone. Once more, he looked in the mirror. This time he whispered to himself, "You can do this. You're going to do this." But his hands were still trembling. Right at that moment, we need to look back. Why was Michael so nervous? The answer is simple. Michael Jackson was at the most critical moment of his career. The Thriller album was breaking records, but the world still saw him as the Jackson 5's cute kid. MTV was still reluctantly playing his videos. They had initially rejected Billie Jean. The music industry wasn't taking him seriously. "He's just a child star. He'll grow up and disappear," they said. Tonight, he would change that narrative. He would shatter that perception, and in doing so, he was taking a risk. Because if he failed, if that move looked ridiculous, if 50 million people watched him on television looking like a fool, then everything could be over. But Michael Jackson was a man who accepted risk because he wasn't just a singer, he was an artist, and artists push boundaries. The stage. The lights went dark. The crowd screamed. The Jackson 5 were on stage. Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, Marlon, and Michael. Old numbers. "I Want You Back," "The Love You Save," "Never Can Say Goodbye." The crowd stood up, danced, applauded. This was nostalgia. Beautiful nostalgia. Michael delivered a flawless performance, every step in place, every note perfect. But his mind was elsewhere. The numbers ended. The brothers left the stage. The crowd applauded. Michael stayed on stage. The lights went dark again. And then a spotlight on Michael, alone. 50 million people were watching him on television. 18,000 people at the Pasadena Civic Auditorium held their breath. Michael adjusted his fedora hat, bowed his head forward. Silence. The music started. Billie Jean, that iconic bass line. Dum 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 dum. Michael raised his head. His eyes sparkled, and the dance began. But you haven't seen the biggest moment yet. Michael was dancing on stage. Spins, kicks, freezes, every move precise, controlled, but at the same time fluid, like he was the music itself. The crowd was going crazy, but Michael hadn't dropped the real bomb yet. The bridge of the song came. Michael turned and came to the center of the stage, feet side by side, body tense, head bowed. And then it started. His right foot slid backward, but his body leaned forward. He looked like he was going forward, but he was going backward. Moonwalk. Left foot back, right foot back. Fluid, seamless, as if the floor was an ice rink and Michael was gliding on it. It lasted 8 seconds. Just 8 seconds. But those 8 seconds changed dance history. The crowd screamed. But this wasn't a normal scream. This was a shock scream. What did he just do? How did he do that? Is this real? Those watching on television couldn't tear themselves from the screen. Kids jumped to their feet. Adults were left with their mouths open. Teachers in dance studios froze. They recorded that moment in their minds, in their hearts. Michael finished the moonwalk, then did a sudden spin, turned on his toe, did a freeze. Pose, perfect pose. The crowd went wild. Michael continued the performance, but everything had changed now. That moment, those 8 seconds, had left its mark. The performance ended. Michael left the stage. Backstage was in chaos. Everyone was running to him. "Michael, what was that? How did you do that? Will you show it again?" Michael was smiling, but just a slight smile. He was still that shy Michael. "Just dance," he said quietly. Gordy, the founder of Motown, approached Michael. There was a huge smile on his face. "Michael, you just changed history." Michael bowed his head. "Thank you, Mr. Gordy." "No, Michael, you don't understand." Barry touched his shoulder. "That move, people will talk about this forever. You just created your own dance. This is your signature now." Michael raised his head, looked at Barry. For the first time that night, he really smiled. A wide, genuine smile. Because he knew he had succeeded. But at that moment, no one fully understood how big it was. That moonwalk wasn't just a dance move. It became the symbol of Michael Jackson's solo career. It was the stamp of the transition from child star to king of pop. It was the message, "I'm no longer just a group member. I'm an artist." The next day, media explosion. Every newspaper, every television, every radio station was talking about one thing: Michael Jackson's moonwalk. The New York Times. Michael Jackson opens a new page in dance history. Rolling Stone. Michael Jackson's incredible performance at Motown. MTV broadcast video replays. Kids were trying to moonwalk in the streets. Dance studios opened courses. How to moonwalk books came out. Michael's phone was ringing like crazy. Offers were pouring in from everywhere. Concerts, commercial deals, movies. But Michael was sitting at home, quietly, watching the replays on television, watching his own performance, and thinking to himself, "This is just the beginning. But now, it's time to tell the real story." How did Michael do that? Moonwalk. And why didn't anyone know? The truth is, Michael had been practicing that move for months, at his home, in his studio, at Neverland Ranch. But he had never shown anyone the full version. Even in rehearsals, he only showed it half-heartedly, because Michael believed in the power of surprise. When people see something for the first time, that shock moment, that's pure magic, he once told a friend. If they know beforehand, the impact is cut in half. And he was right. That night, those 8 seconds of moonwalk shocked the world, because no one expected it, no one was ready, and that was Michael Jackson's genius. He wasn't just talented, he was strategic, he was a visionary. He planned every detail, from costumes to music, from lights to camera angles. The Thriller video, the Smooth Criminal 45-degree lean, the dangerous performances, all were made with the same principle: surprise, shock, magic. Months later, in an interview, they asked Michael, "The moonwalk at Motown 25, was this planned?" Michael smiled. "Yes and no. I knew the move. I had practiced it. But I decided in that moment. I felt the music. I felt the moment. And I said now to myself, weren't you scared? 50 million people were watching." Michael was quiet. "Then of course I was scared. I'm always scared on stage. But fear makes me better. It focuses me." So after that moment, did your life change? Michael looked out the window. Yes, everything changed. People started seeing me differently. I was no longer the kid from Jackson 5. I was Michael Jackson, king of pop. But the story doesn't end here, because the impact that moonwalk created didn't just change Michael's career. It affected an entire generation. Dance schools filled up with kids wanting to learn Michael Jackson. Music videos exploded, because Michael proved that video could be an art form. MTV, the music industry, pop culture, everything changed. And most importantly, Michael showed how a black artist could make his place in a white-dominated industry. That moonwalk wasn't just a dance. It was the message, "I don't fit into the molds you expect. I write my own rules. But the real question is, why was Michael Jackson so perfectionist? Why did he plan every detail? The answer lay in his childhood. Michael started performing on stage at age 5. His father Joseph was a ruthless trainer. No mistakes, perfection or nothing, he would scream. Michael, as a small child, would rehearse crying. He would hear his father's voice screaming, "Try again, faster, better." This trauma had shaped Michael. It had made him a perfectionist. But at the same time, it had given him a gift, the discipline to never give up, the desire to always seek something better. My father was tough, Michael said years later, but he taught me one thing: if you want to be the best, you have to be the hardest worker. And Michael Jackson had become the hardest worker. Hours of rehearsal, hundreds of repetitions, an endless pursuit of perfection. And that night, at Motown 25, all that work, all that pain, all that discipline, transformed into 8 seconds of pure magic. And now, 40 years later, we're still talking about those 8 seconds. We still watch that video. Kids are still trying to moonwalk. Dancers still reference Michael Jackson. Because that moment wasn't just a performance. It was a revolution. It was a work of art. It was the moment when a human soul transformed into music, into movement, into time. Michael Jackson earned his immortality that night, and it all happened with an 8-second moonwalk. One last thing. Do you know how Michael remembered that night? Years later, an old friend asked, "Michael, of all those incredible performances, all those records, which one do you remember most?" Michael didn't hesitate. Motown 20. That night, the moonwalk. Why? Michael smiled. Because that night, I found myself. In those 8 seconds, I'm Michael Jackson. Nobody else. And I'll never forget that feeling. The lesson to be taken from this story is simple but profound. Sometimes, 8 seconds can change a life. Sometimes, a single moment can write history. Sometimes, the greatest courage comes at the moment no one expects, with work no one has seen. Michael Jackson proved something to the world that night. Limits only exist in our minds. If you work hard enough, if you dream enough, if you're brave enough, there's no such thing as impossible. And you? What's your 8 seconds in life? What moonwalk is waiting for you? Maybe the answer is right now, hidden somewhere inside you. Maybe you already know that move. You just need to find the courage to do it. Michael Jackson did it. You can too. Because remember, the king of pop was once a scared kid, standing backstage with trembling hands. But he transformed that fear into magic. You can transform it too. 8 seconds. Just 8 seconds. But 8 seconds that echo forever.